that we're joined now by Daniel Pinkston. Daniel is senior analyst at International Crisis Group. Daniel Pinkston, thanks very much indeed for joining us as we get this story right now. Well, you know, the thing is, what happens next? Our previous guest, Taisuk, was talking about, well, it's all about the way that the funeral is organised, and we should get we should have a firm view as to actually who does take the helm next, and whether it is the appointed heir, the heir apparent anyway, and that is, of course, the son of Kim Jong Il.
Yes, I think that's correct. We will have to look at the funeral and any other signs of any split in the leadership. I think North Korea has taken a number of steps over the previous 2 years to accelerate the succession process, so my instinct and belief is that things will go smoothly, at least initially, but of course this is a very vulnerable time for the state.
But what about the region itself? Of course, many people have jitters about what the intentions of the North Koreans is. What about that?
I think any challenge to the leadership, it will be difficult, because any challenger will have to seize control of a number of institutions. North Korea has a number of security institutions and military, the secret police and so forth, and only Kim Jong Il has had control of all of those institutions. So now it's up to Kim Jong Un to try to seize control as his father managed the affairs of state, and I think he will be constrained in many ways and thrust into this position. He will probably have to rule like his father has done, at least initially. So I think we'll see more of the same, at least in the short term. And much of this will depend upon Kim Jong Un's personal capabilities, which much of that we do not know exactly. So we'll just have to watch and see in the coming weeks and months.
What do we know then about Kim Jong Un, the successor or the heir apparent here? What do we know about him? Because what we do actually have is perhaps he has the opportunity to reform the North. Are there any signs that he will?
There are no real signs of that. We do know that he studied abroad, but I think at least initially he will have to consolidate power, and he will focus on the internal affairs of state, particularly because of his young age. There are a number of senior officials and senior military generals that might not be so eager to follow the orders of such a young and inexperienced man. So he will focus on consolidating power initially, and then if he does intend to reform, he will still be constrained by the state and by the institutions. But any reform process, I think, will take some time after he consolidates power, if in fact he has that will or that intention, which we do not know.
Well, you know, what are the chances that he could be challenged? Is there, you know, after a brief period of time, could there be a coup there which would perhaps restore total military domination?
Yes, that very well could happen, although I think it's unlikely, unless Kim Jong Un stumbles or he makes some mistakes or in managing the transfer, which is already well underway, to this third generation of leadership. All of the senior officials now have pledged their allegiance to him. There's been a purging of some of the older guard already. This has been taking place over the past couple of years. People have been forced to retire. So I think this process has been well underway, although it's been in a very collapsed period, in a short period of time. But I think they're much further ahead on this than many people on the outside realize. And so also Kim Jong Il was able to select his son based on his personal attributes, and Kim Jong Il would not select someone who is totally incompetent. So people have told me from intelligence community that, in fact, they think he is intelligent, he's a capable person. Of course, the North Korean media exaggerates Kim Jong Un's ability. They say he's a genius who speaks 8 languages and so forth. But nevertheless, I don't think Kim Jong Il would select someone who is completely incompetent.
Daniel, if you'd just like to bear with us, I'm just going to get some images that we have coming through from Pyongyang. This is the state media, state television at the moment, broadcasting right now, and this is what we have. Let's take a little listen as to what's going on. I think we've got martial music going on as well. Well, in typical Stalinist tradition, martial music there as the announcement takes place of the death of the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong Il. Let's get back to Daniel Pinkston, senior analyst at International Crisis Group. Daniel, we were talking about the succession here. What about the way that some of the people in the wider area, perhaps Beijing, which has more leverage than any other country on the north, does it strengthen its hand as a result of this?
Well, I think for years now, China has been looking at this for its long-term interests. I think they had given up on any reform and opening during the Kim Jong Il era, and of course China has been urging North Korea to reform for many years now, and I think they will certainly continue that effort. But although China does have considerable leverage, North Korea and the leadership in North Korea and this new generation of leadership, they will act in their own interests, and they will not simply do what China tells them to do. And China is very concerned about exerting too much pressure because it could backfire, and if it were to cause any instability in North Korea, that certainly would not be in China's interest. China has already voiced its support for the succession. They've kind of fallen in line behind this, even though they are opposed to it in principle. But officially they say this is North Korea's internal affairs, and they will not interfere in that. So I think they'll wait to see if Kim Jong Un is able to consolidate his leadership, and if there are any signs of reform or efforts to reform or intentions to reform in Pyongyang. Certainly China would try to help that process along.
Daniel, let's just, I've got some breaking news coming through as well. The Finance Ministry is holding an emergency meeting this afternoon. We've got the regulator, the financial regulator, also is going to be holding a meeting this afternoon. And the bank, the central bank there, and the Finance Ministry, as I mentioned, well, they're all doing that. What do you think they're going to be discussing? There don't seem to be any clear financial implications to this.
Well, certainly there are probably concerns about stability or potential violence in North Korea. We're sitting here from the outside speculating about what's going on. We do know that the North Korean military is on alert, of course, but if there's any movement to take advantage of the situation, a coup or something like that, if any violence were to break out or bloodshed, it could escalate, and that's what I think people are concerned about. In any widespread violence in the north that would spill over into the region or into South Korea would have tremendous economic effects throughout the region and the world. So I think that's what the concerns are about.
Okay, well, December 28th, that is the date of the funeral. That's what's been earmarked right now. It's quite a long time between then and now, considering he died on December the 17th. What do you think is going to be the discussion in Pyongyang? Why have they left so much time? I mean, it's not as though they're going to expect a lot of foreign visitors. In fact, they've said that they don't want foreign visitors paying their respects.
Well, I can only speculate about that. I don't know what kind of plans Kim Jong Il made about his demise. I think we know that regarding succession, he did not deal with this issue until very late, until about 2008, after he had his health problems with the stroke. So I don't know if this part was settled and what they were actually planning to do, considering what to do with his body and so forth. His father is displayed in a mausoleum. I don't know if they're going to do a similar thing with Kim Jong Il's body. So I think maybe some of that planning, and then also sorting out the ranks of the political leadership, and we will see the funeral list, which will be a very clear indication of the hierarchy in North Korea. So maybe there's been some discussion about that and the protocol issues and everything. So it would just take some time to work that out, I assume.
Daniel, thank you so much for your time. Daniel